So here's the characteristics of an intimacy anorexic. Number one, busy. They're too busy to have any kind of quality time with their spouse. Now, busy can be, volunteering at a political, religious, or community group. It could be being so involved with the kids, or overworking, or having a hobby that demands that you're playing golf for 15 hours on the weekend. But they're not making date nights. They're not making quality time when we just sit and talk and have coffee and relax and connect with one another in a lover way, in a relational way. It's to the spouses of this intimacy anorexic, the word functionship fits what they're living in more than relationship. They're not in relationship. They're in, did this get done? Did that get done? Did this kid go there? Do we have this money in the bank? Did this get paid? And so this is really, really important. Now, so they're too busy for their spouse. Now, they're not too busy for anybody else, okay? The second part of this is blame. They tend to blame their spouse for the problems in the relationship. Rarely will an intimacy anorexic volunteer to say, I'm wrong or I'm sorry. You almost have to push them into that. They live in object relationship with themselves. And so there's the good version of themselves, which they always want to be. And then there's the, authentically flawed, which we all are. And they really resist being flawed because they have a belief that they are loved or flawed, not flawed and loved. And so they operate this at a very deep level. And there's like 45 hours of training on just intimacy anorexia. So it gets pretty deep. But the intimacy anorexic will push the blame for any issue in the relationship back to the spouse. And the spouse will begin to feel like they are the toilet in the marriage or relationship when it comes to taking any responsibility. So they're too busy for you. They blame you. They will withhold quite a bit. So withhold spiritually, even if they are the rabbi, the medicine man, the pastor, they will withhold spiritually from you. They won't pray, worship, seek, go to, they won't do that. They'll do public services, and in public, they'll put your arm around you, but spiritually, you'll feel very alone. They withhold sexuality in a couple ways. One, in actual not having sex, or two, they will not be present during sex, or they will make it a negative experience, like, are you done yet? Was that good for you? And they will push you in a place where you feel like you don't even want to ask because it seems like they're intentionally negatively reinforcing you sexually so that you don't get into desiring sexuality for them, because for them, sex and intimacy would be so expensive. Sex as object they can do. Okay, and so there are some intimacy anorexics that want sex 2 or 3 times a week, but it's sex, it's not making love. And the wife or the husband feels empty afterwards, they feel alone afterwards, they don't feel that intimacy and that closeness and I just love being with you feeling. They feel like, okay, that's over. And so they withhold sex. So if they're too busy for you, they blame you, they withhold spiritually, they withhold sex, they're unwilling or unable to share their feelings with you. And so, it's very hard for them to identify and communicate feelings with them. That's actually part of the treatment. They will use anger and silence as a way to control in the relationship. So if they feel threatened or in any situation like that, they will use anger towards you to push you away, or silence to shut you out. That's another thing. They will oftentimes have ongoing or ungrounded criticism of you. So it's like we're having this conversation, and it seems like there's almost like this negative narrative that they have of you that you don't fit, but it'll come out in this ongoing kind of criticism of you, or where it's just even made up sometimes. It's like, no, that wasn't my heart at all. I didn't mean that at all, but they say you did. And so, they're maintaining reality. And so therefore we go down that road that way. And so they're too busy for you, they blame you, they withhold love, they withhold spiritually. They sometimes will withhold money in 1 or 2 ways, either where they control it, but this is very rare. This is like 5 or 10%, or they'll give you abundance so you don't ever question them. You can have whatever you want, just not asking for sex and intimacy. And so if they have 5 or more of these kind of characteristics where they're withholding from you, this is someone who is going to be an intimacy anorexic. So, busy, blame, withholding love, withholding spiritually, feelings, withholding feelings, ongoing ungrounded criticism of you, withholding sexuality, using anger or silence as a way to control. These are the characteristics of intimacy anorexic. And so an intimacy anorexic sex addict, so this is a little different animal than anything we talked about so far, because in their marriage, they actually have two addictions. They have the addiction to withholding intimacy from their spouse. And we've been treating intimacy anorexia with the 12-step model, with the addiction model, and having great success. So we know that it can easily fit into the addiction category because they try to stop, they don't, they fail, they make promises and they fail. It gets worse over time. It takes up more of their time. Like it fits a lot of the addiction category, and the intimacy anorexia book or video can help you walk through all that. But so they have this addiction to withholding intimacy. And I can tell you, I've heard hundreds of men and women who on the wedding night, it changed. When they were dating, it was all lovey-dovey, even sex and connection, all that kind of stuff. And then the wedding night, when that happened, they start to avoid them and pull away, because now there was no back door, there was no way out, and they didn't know what to do. And the intimacy actually activated even on the wedding night. So they have the addiction to withholding, and they have the addiction to sexuality, whatever the brand of that is. And these guys are interconnected. And so as we get to treatment, both will have to be treated at the same time for this person to generally heal. And intimacy anorexic of the two is way worse as far as dynamically. And to understand it, but for the person they want to heal, they have to really want to heal. Now we have workbooks and there's support groups and all that kind of stuff for them to get better, and they do get better. But dynamically, I can't tell you how many hundreds of men and women who said, wow, the intimacy anorexia was way harder to deal with than the sex addiction.